range because I wanted to do a run through, walkthrough, whatever. Just go through the June 2022 NRL22 Course of Fire. The Course of Fire was published earlier this past week, I think Wednesday, late Wednesday afternoon. And so this marks the Course of Fire for the start of the new NRL22 2023 season. Not much has changed as far as rules. There's a bunch of just clarifications regarding existing rules to iron certain things out because there's ambiguity and, you know, people interpret things the way they want to interpret them. So I think they tried to make a little bit more concrete wording regarding certain things, but nothing that really affects the shooters so much in terms of their gear and whatnot. It's pretty much the same thing as previous years. So no real changes there. Anyway, it is a kind of a pretty wet morning, actually. It's sort of a drizzle right now. Humidity is really high. It's sort of, you know, foggy or whatever, but we're higher elevation in this canyon / mountain area. And so basically the low clouds are in, and so that's why everything is wet. It's not supposed to rain today. It's supposed to be really windy, apparently. There's a wind warning up until tomorrow. So we'll try to get things done soon before it does actually pick up, but right now it's feeling pretty good. Anyway, let's go ahead and crack open the container. Hopefully there's no more new mice at this point in time, that, because I didn't really bring much more stuff to clean if there is like disinfectant and stuff. So hopefully there's nothing in there, nothing new. But we'll go ahead and get all our targets set up, all the props out, and we'll start doing the walkthrough. First series we're going to run through today is called Evolution of the Stance. We have a 100 per second part time, 10 rounds. We have 3 banks of targets. We have a 1.5 inch and a 3 inch at 25 yards, a 2 inch and a 3 inch at 50 yards, and a 3 and a 4 inch at 85 yards. You're going to start standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag and action open. On the start signal, the shooter will engage the targets from large to small in the following manner from the unsupported positions. Prone position, 85 yards, 2 shots each. So 2 large, 2 small. Then you're going to sitting, 25 yards, 1 shot each. Large, small. And then kneeling, 50 yards with 2 shots each, large and small. Only a sling may be used as equipment. Now, the issue here is they don't tell you that you have to shoot prone, sitting, and kneeling in order. It just has those as line items here. But you do have to shoot from large to small. That's my interpretation of this. But I'm going to go ahead and just shoot it in prone, sitting, and kneeling in that order as it's listed here. Although that probably is the best way to start anyways, because prone is probably the most, to get out of the prone then into sitting and kneeling is going to be easier than getting from like kneeling, sitting, then to prone, to work your way up. But we'll try it out.
All you have to do is just, you don't have to do anything except for pull back, push forward, you got a new bullet. Okay? Pull the pump action. The trigger on this one's a little stiffer, so just keep pulling back slowly, it'll surprise you. bullet. Okay. Turn this over so I can see the chambers open. I got more here.
These are different silver.
Yeah, these ones don't have the copper jacket.
Overall, this stage is pretty straightforward. The issue with me, I did install these weights on here a while ago, a few months ago, and it does have sling cups there, which is where I would have normally put my sling. It feels like it's still a little tight for me though, so I probably should have loosened the sling a little bit, because the way I'm choking up, it feels like I'm too close on my scope, like my eye relief when I'm slung up. So I probably should have loosened it up, and I might have to do that, especially when we're shooting at this elevation. It's got that, I really got this short position on my head to the rifle scope. With iron sights, it's not a big deal, because you'd be right up on the iron sights. Nose to charging handle or AR-15. So that kind of that tight sling position is not a big deal. But on a scoped rifle, you have to be aware of your eye relief. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good sight picture, and then you're going to be off. So I did miss 2 shots to the left at the 85-yard target. Sitting and kneeling were a little sloppy. I hit left edge both times on sitting, and again, it's most likely because the sling is too tight. So I should probably loosen it up the way I have this. I should lengthen the sling, not loosen it, but lengthen the sling, so I have a little bit more comfort. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward stage, and I actually think people can probably clean this as long as they have good sling fundamentals for sitting and kneeling. The targets are pretty big, 2 and a 3 inch at 50, and then 1.5 and a 3 inch at 25 yards. Take your time. I did finish at 101.5 elapsed, so you can probably take a little bit of time to make sure your positions are solid. Other than that, that's pretty much it for this stage, evolution of the stance. Next stage we'll run through is called Can Confirm. We have 2 banks of targets. We have the full KYL rack at 35 yards. We have a 1 inch, 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/4 inch at 35 yards, 6 inch, and 90 yards. 10 points per impact, 100 points possible. You can start standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag in action open. On the start signal, the shooter will move to a prone supported position and engage the KYL rack from large to small. Hit to move on. Between each hit on the KYL, a confirmation shot must be fired at the far target. If the shooter misses a confirmation shot, the shooter loses all points and must start over on the KYL rack, starting with the largest target. Only shots missed on the confirmation target will result in loss of points, and I assume the reset. If the shooter does not miss a shot on the KYL rack, then the last 2 shots will be engaged on the far target. Points will not be lost for the last 2 shots if the shooter misses the far target. Pretty straightforward, I guess, and it's just KYL rack, far target, KYL rack, and keep going. So if you miss the far target, you reset on the KYL rack, starting from 0. Just a key point here, if you look closely on the diagram of the Course of Fire, it appears to have the large targets to the right. So usually the KYL rack, I always have the smallest left to right, but I'm going to do it based on the diagram, so it's small to large left to right. And so you're going to have to start from right moving left. I don't know. Just got to pay attention to that. I don't know how other ranges are going to do that, but based on the diagram, that's what I'm going to run for our setup here. But let's go ahead and try this stage and see how it goes. It's actually a straightforward stage, but I made a mistake on the first run. I shot the KYL, the 1/4 inch, then I engaged the far target. Now it says once, if you don't miss a shot on the KYL rack, your final 2 shots be on the far target. So instead of shooting back on the far target twice, I shot back on the small KYL again, and then the far target. So it's got a mistake there. So basically, just make your hits on the KYL, and then it's a 6-inch at 90 yards, which is pretty easy to hit. I went negative, I got a 50-yard 0, so I went minus 1/10 of a mil for 35 yards. And then above that, it's basically 1.4 for me to get to 90 yards. So basically, I just held 1.5 mils. I didn't even adjust parallax. I was a blurry target at 90 yards, but given it's so big, you don't need to make any adjustments. And so I finished with 65.33 seconds elapsed, which is nearly half the time you need. So you can take your time. The key thing is just make sure you just make your hits on the KYL. And a 6-inch target 90 is very easy to hit. You saw me, I was kind of like, it looked like I was kind of like digging my rifle in the ground. Again, we're shooting at an incline that's at least 10 degrees, if not 15 degrees, up angle at a short distance. So once you're shooting at ground level and then shooting at an angle, you kind of have to adjust your bipod and then be really tall, and then adjust your bag so you can get close to the ground. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I don't think anyone will really have any problems here. It's just as long as your gun is accurate enough at 35 yards to make a hit on a 1/4 inch target, and the wind is not blowing like it isn't here, because today it's a pretty good wind. You should be able to clean the stage. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The next stage of fire we're running through is called Double Trouble, 120-second part time with 12 rounds. We have 2 banks of targets. We have a 1-inch and a 1.5 inch at 25 yards. Then we have a 1.5 inch and a 2-inch at 66 yards. This is the bonus stage, so if you finish with extra time on the clock, you get bonus points. You're going to start standing, rifle on gear in hand, mag in, action open. On the start signal, the shooter will engage targets from large to small, 2 shots each in the following order. Center of the trap, near targets. A tip, far targets. A tip, near targets. 2 different tips must be used during the stage. Positions can be shot in any order. So you can shoot center, tip, or you can do tip, tip, center, tip, center, tip. Your choice. The center of the tank trap is considered the portion where all the points cross one another. So I guess people are probably coming with some weird interpretation of what the center is, but just where it converges. And the tank trap tip is a portion of the post above the center. The furthest portion of the post above the center. Pretty straightforward stage. 2 shots each bank, large to small. So 2 shots on each target on each bank, large to small. I would probably, you're going to do center, near, far, tip far, tip near. In my opinion, it would make sense just to shoot the near targets in order, one after the other. So shoot center, and then one of the tips near, and then move to far. That would be my opinion. I don't know. Do it however you feel, but that's probably how I'm going to approach it.
So don't worry about shooting fast. You don't have to shoot fast with it. I was just doing that for demonstration.
I know. I have to sit back and put it in.
sideways so that way you can see the magazine. Eject it, fall to the table, the other one, bring it up, hit it, go, keep running. Okay? Yeah. I'm just going to try this. Magazine release. Good. In the real world, you have to change magazines, right?
Yeah.
Clean.
Are you going to shoot 10?
Safe. Safe.
Watch him shoot them.
It's a little bit. Oh, I see it. Up there. Yeah.
Down the hill, yeah.
Safe.
Double trouble is pretty straightforward. I cleaned it, and I finished with the same amount of time. I've been running it with, I ran the past couple stages with both my bolts, my Vudoo, and a semi-auto 1022. Full disclosure, I don't really have a dope for this. I could probably just go on my phone and sync it up with my Kestrel, but I was taking some zeroing shots before I shot with the 1022 on each stage just to make sure I know what my holdovers are going to be. But it was pretty much the same actually, right around the half mil mark for 66 yards with both the the 1022 and the Vudoo. So I finished with the same amount of time, about 83 seconds. I actually finished a little faster, only a half second or a second faster with the semi-auto. Pretty much I'm slower with the semi-auto in some regards because, I got to do the safety movements, and that slows you down a little bit. And it's just having a reload, it takes a little longer. So some of the gains you get with a semi-auto you lose in some respects. And plus, accuracy is not as good as the bolt gun, at least with my gun. I'm sure you can get 1022s to shoot very accurately, but mine isn't all that great. Anyway, that being said, double trouble, pretty straightforward. I don't think you'll have much trouble with this. Again, it's just, you're not here to get bonus points, you're here to make hits. So just clean the stage, you'll be fine. There should be plenty of time. Like I said, I finished with 83 seconds. I went center, tip, where center is the near targets. I went to a tip to shoot near targets as well. Then I just went to a tip to shoot far targets. So you can shoot center near, tip far, and then tip near, or you can start tip far, tip near, and then center near. But however you feel like you want to shoot it, I feel like you need to just go ahead and shoot the near targets right after one another in whatever order you're going to shoot them in, but one after another. So my choice was shoot center near, tip tip far. It's always nice to shoot center near because you want to shoot the most stable position just to get yourself warmed up, right? So I figure that's the best way to go. Anyway, that's it for this stage. Pretty straightforward. I figure most people should be able to clean this, but let's go ahead and move on to the next stage of fire. The fourth stage of fire we're running through is called price per barrel, 120-second part time, 10 rounds. We have 3 banks of targets, well, 3 targets in general. We have a 1-inch at 25 yards, we have a 2-inch at 55 yards, and we have a 2.5-inch at 100 yards. 10 points per impact, 100 points possible. Standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag in action open. On start signal, the shooter will engage the targets with 2 shots each from the top of the 55-gallon barrel in the following order. 25 yards, 55 yards, 100 yards, 55 yards, 100 yards. So near, middle, far, middle, far. Pretty easy. Near, middle, far, middle, far. It should be a pretty straightforward stage, and as you see how I've already got it set up, gaming this stage by using the bipod on my arc reel all the way to this middle, and just going to basically shoot in this manner off the barrel. So the diagram has the barrel right side up, but it does have a top on the barrel. We don't have tops on our barrels because, if you know, there's like 2 holes on the top of a 55-gallon drum, but we don't have. There's just open tops. So I flipped it upside down. If we had a cover on it, we would shoot it like that, but we don't. So that's how we shoot it here at this range. So if you're ever wondering why I have it upside down, that's just the way we have to do it. Anyway, let's go ahead and shoot the stage.
Oh, short one. Short around. I think I hit it. Yep, 10 rounds, 97.32.
So for me, in my equipment, price per barrel is a very simple stage. With the Arca rail, you can run the bipod straight up like this, run it close, rear back for support, and you're golden. I mean, it's pretty stable. If you can't do that because you have a fixed location on your bipod, it's going to be out front. You have one of two things, right? You can either just use the bipod and try to use your bag somewhere else. Or you can just use this, forego the bipod and shoot with the bag off the barrel. Case in point, use my Vudoo as an example here. If I were to run this for some reason, in this scenario, I would just run, sorry, now getting my microphone tangled up and everything here. Where is it? There it goes. You can just run the bag straight up like that and just jam against the bag. And actually, this is probably, could arguably be more stable than the bipod because you can just let it sit and relax and just adjust accordingly and let it sit there. And like, for example, on this range where it's got a natural up angle, I could just let my gun sit like that and it's actually right on target. And I don't have to hold it. I can just pull the trigger right now. And I would actually get a hit right here. So, I mean, that's probably the one way that many will shoot this if they don't have an ARCA rail and an ARCA bipod that can move back and forth. But this is a very simple stage either way. I can't imagine you can't clean this. I ran it with both my Vudoo and my 1022, and I cleaned with the 1022. I think I got the last shot. I didn't see where it hit, but it moved, unless I hit the hanger, but it seemed like a hit to me. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the fifth and final stage. Last stage we're going to run through is called Men at Work, 120-second part time, 10 rounds. We have a single target. It's a 2.5 inch at 85 yards. 10 points per impact, 100 points possible. You're going to start standing, rifle on gear in hand, mag in action open. On the start signal, shoot or engage the target in the following manner. Top of the sawhorse, 3 shots. Any rung location, 2 shots. 5-gallon bucket, 3 shots. And the center blocks, 2 shots. No other parameters here. It's going to be kind of weird the way this ladder and the sawhorse is. Because the ladder is actually blocking the sawhorse. The way we have it set up. So you'll probably have to figure that out as far as the bag is concerned. And then any rung, I'm assuming you'll have to just be at the rung location. If your bag makes contact with any of the rungs, I'll count that. Even if you're shooting off of the edge portion, as long as the bag's making contact, whatever, right? Then top of the bucket, top of the center blocks. Pretty straightforward, so 3-2, 3-2. Let's go ahead and run through this, see how this goes.
Safe. 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 Clear.
The men at work stage is moderately difficult. There are movements here, so you've got like basically 1, 2, 3 movements, but you've got varying heights, and depending on how your rifle's set up, it could be a little bit tedious. For example, I have my bipod sticking out, and it makes contact with that ladder in front of the rifle. So you have to pay attention to that kind of thing. You may want to run the bipod off if you're not going to use it here. But I end up using the bipod, at least with the Vudoo, on the barrel. Sorry, on the bucket and the cinder blocks. Did I use it? No, I didn't. I didn't use the bipod on the bucket. I ended up doing it on cinder blocks. I probably should have just done it on the bucket as well. Although you just don't have much of a footprint on the bucket, so you kind of have to. If you have an adjustable bipod, you can bring in the legs like this. But some might argue that the bipod is more of a hindrance than anything, or a nuisance. My opinion is you can keep it on, just know how to manage it. For example, on my 1022, it's a little bit shorter on the rifle, and I should not have run on the spigot mount. What I could have done is just run it closer to the magwell on the Arca rail, and use that as my kind of my index point for my bag. Let me get this timer off, so I could use it to steady up my bag. If you can see it on camera, I just have the bag on top of the sawhorse, straddling it, and then my bipod straddling it. I could have done it like that. Probably would have been better, because that would have allowed me to do this to stabilize a lot better there. And then use the bipod on the bucket and the cinder blocks, using that as my front point, and this is kind of my body support rest, filling up the space. Anyway, I think this is going to be the most tedious one, other than the sling stage. But this one you probably have to think about in your rifle setup. Your rifle setup could be problematic depending on how you have things done. But definitely think about this one on the Course of Fire. Anyway, that's it for the 5 stages. I'm going to go ahead and pull in the rest of my targets, clean up the props, and we'll be done. Almost packed up, about to get out of here. To summarize the June 2022 NRL22 Course of Fire, I think it's a pretty good Course of Fire to start off the season with. It's not too difficult, and it's got a couple challenging aspects of the Course of Fire, 2 stages which will make people work, like the position stage and that multiple movement stage. So it's a nice way to start the season, get some new shooters out there, and let's see how they enjoy this style of shooting. The first time I brought out the 1022 to also shoot NRL22 stages, and I thought it would be nice because I used the trigger cam on it for those stages, and we'll see how that looks in post-production. It fits perfectly well on this Vortex Diamondback Tactical. Although the scope isn't a very clear scope, we'll see how the trigger cam video looks, or the footage looks. And I'm not entirely sure. Again, I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to keep it or not. It's nice. It's a nice piece of kit. It does affect the eye relief a little bit, although I'm not entirely sure if the eye relief I'm seeing right now is mainly because the scope isn't all that great. It's it's got a very tight eye box on this this Diamondback Tactical. It's very finicky. Anyway, but hopefully you guys enjoy the footage when I cut it all together. And that's pretty much it. So our next match will be, in June. We'll start off the season in June. I can't recall what the dates are off the top of my head. June 25th, June 26th, but I'll put that in the caption here. Fourth Sunday of the month at the West End Gun Club, and I have that webpage set up, SoCalNRL22.org. So if you ever need to just get directions, procedures, the FAQs, check out that site. I just threw that up there just for people to refer to. And then we have a mailing list. People are hesitant about getting on the mailing list for some odd reason, but I only send stuff on the mailing list whenever there's a match coming up. So if there's a match coming up, I'll send out to the emailing list to give, hey, check it out, practice score. The match is open for registration, and that's it. And if there's any flash traffic related to that match, it's only going to go out to people who are registered, and so they'll get information if I have to cancel or whatever. And so the traffic on that email list is pretty light. So if you want to get on there, feel free to get on there. I don't spam you or anything like that. But I don't know. People are very particular about mailing lists. So I don't know. Anyway, that's sort of it for today. Hopefully you got some good information for the June 2022 NRL22 Course of Fire. If you have any questions or comments about the Course of Fire, for me, I can go ahead and post in the video comments, and I'll try to answer those questions as best I can. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next vlog.